Tamer Shama of RotoExperts.com back once again, this time with starts and sits at the quarterback position for Week 14. You know what I'm going to do first, though? I'm going to take a look back at Week 13 and see how I did with my quarterback picks last week. And unlike my running back picks, my quarterback picks were really a disaster last week. My first start for last week was Matt Castle. I thought he would have a big game against the Denver Broncos. And he didn't have a terrible game, but not really a great game, not a starter-worthy game. A little bit under 200 yards passing, a touchdown, no interceptions. Not a great game, but definitely not something I would want to consider for fantasy owners out there as a starting-worthy game for Week 13. So really 0 for 1 there. My second pick was a complete disaster as far as a start for Week 13. That was Mark Sanchez. I thought he'd have a big game against the New England Patriots. For good reason. The Patriots' secondary has been terrible this year, but he completely spit the bit on Monday night for the Jets, as did the entire Jets team, and had 3 interceptions, didn't throw for 200 yards. Just a terrible game for Sanchez. And then my one sit for last week was Carson Palmer. I thought he would struggle against the New Orleans Saints, and he actually had the best week of the 3. He had 250 yards and a touchdown in that game. Not a great game, but definitely not a game where you would consider sitting him, especially over the 2 guys that I had said would start. So definitely a bad week for me at quarterback. Think I'll do better this week. Let's get it started and see if we can turn things around for obviously a very important Week 14. And my one and only start for Week 14 is Eli Manning. He's going to be going up against the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. And a lot of reasons to like Eli in this game. First of all, you don't want to get thrown off by the bad game that he had against the Redskins this past Sunday. It was a very windy day at the new Meadowlands Stadium. The Giants decided to try to run the ball a lot in that game. And if you throw out the 1 interception that Eli threw in that game, he really didn't have a terrible game considering the conditions. So you don't really want to get thrown off. He's still been a very good quarterback week in and week out for fantasy owners out there. And I think he's going to do it again this week for several reasons. First of all, Minnesota is very good against the pass. Or I should say very good against the run. So the Giants are going to still try to run the ball, but they're not going to run it nearly as much as they did against the Redskins. They're going to try to throw the ball more in this game. Also, Eli is very good inside domes. He's had a lot of good games in domes in his career. He feels comfortable in that environment, likes not having to deal with winds and all the different things you have to deal with in an outdoor game. So that's a big factor as well. And also, it looks like he's going to get a lot of his weapons back this week. Steve Smith looks like he's definitely going to play. He's going to be limited, but he's at least going to be out there and play a good portion of the snaps on offense for the Giants. And also Akeem Nicks, it looks like there's a good possibility he's going to come back as well and help them out as well. So he can pretty much have his entire receiver corps back for this week. And even if it's just one of those guys, Derek Hagan's been good for them. He's starting to get a little bit of a rapport with him. So I think he has enough weapons in order to be effective in this game, even if he only gets one of those guys back for this week. When you couple that with the fact that Minnesota is not great against the pass, I think it's going to be a good week for Eli. Look at him as a mid to lower tier starting quarterback for next week. He's not really a guy you're going to say is going to have a top 5 game at quarterback, but I think he's definitely a solid mid to lower tier start for next week. I have 2 sits for you, and they're both similar situations. Younger quarterbacks going up against tough defenses on the road. The first guy is Sam Bradford. He's going to be going up against the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans. And Bradford's had a tremendous rookie season. We all know that at this point. But I think that he's really running into a tough situation here. He's going up against a good pass defense in that team's home stadium. New Orleans is very tough at home. And I just think it's going to be a difficult situation for Bradford. Loud stadium, on the road, tough team, the defending Super Bowl champions. And I just think he's due for a bad game. I mean, he's still a rookie. This guy's only thrown 10 interceptions in the entire season. He's just due for a bad game, and this looks like a really prime spot for him to have a bad game. So I would really look to sit him in all leagues for Week 14. The second sit is Matt Castle. He's going to be going up against the San Diego Chargers in San Diego. Similar situation here. He's not a rookie, obviously, but Castle's just played so well this season. Even last week, he again didn't throw an interception. He's only thrown 4 interceptions on the season. I just would have to think he has a bad game in him at this point. He's going to have at least one more bad game before the end of the season. This looks like a good spot for it to happen. The Chargers absolutely need this game as far as being able to have a chance to win the division. They did well against him in the first game of the season. Castle didn't even throw for 100 yards in that game. So I think Castle's going to struggle. He's going to throw a couple interceptions in this game. He's going to have a hard time getting a touchdown in this game. So he's another guy like Bradford that I would look to sit in all leagues for Week 14. So those are my starts and sits at quarterback for Week 14. Check us out on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @RotoExperts. And check me out on Twitter. My personal Twitter handle is @RotoExperts_TC. Everybody have a great weekend. Good luck with your playoff matchups. If you are in the playoffs or if it's the final week of the regular season for you, good luck with that. And I'll talk to you in Week 15.